The path of the chosen is not merely one of enlightenment, it is a journey burdened with trials that test the very core of one's resolve. Among these trials, few are as relentless as the pull of desire. Lust in its rawest form is not just about physical craving, it is a test of discipline, a battle between the sacred and the profane, the eternal and the fleeting. But why do those seeking wisdom, spiritual ascension, or a higher purpose often find themselves entangled in this silent struggle? The answer lies in the paradox of transformation. The more one evolves, the more they become aware of the forces within them that resist change. Awareness magnifies every impulse, making the chosen acutely conscious of their desires, even as they seek to transcend them. Lust, in this light, is not just temptation. It is a mirror reflecting one's deepest vulnerabilities. The more a person strives to detach from worldly cravings, the stronger these cravings become, not because they are essential, but because the mind, in its effort to suppress them, unintentionally gives them power. This is the challenge of those who walk the higher path, to master the self without being consumed by the shadows lurking within. The struggle is not about morality, but mastery. To fight lust is to fight not just the body's hunger, but also the mind's fixation on what it believes it must resist. Those who walk the spiritual path often possess an extraordinary sensitivity to the unseen. They perceive reality beyond the superficial, seeing through the illusions of fleeting pleasures. But with great perception comes great temptation. Awareness does not numb desire, it sharpens it. The more one seeks purity, the more they are made aware of their own internal conflicts. It is like a monk meditating in a silent temple, only to find his mind flooded with thoughts he wished to leave behind. The body, bound to the cycles of nature, continues to feel, to crave, to call. This struggle has been spoken of by sages and seekers across time. The wandering ascetics of India practiced intense austerities to master their senses, yet even they wrote of the deceptive nature of desire. The hermits in the mountains sought solitude to escape distractions, only to find their inner demons growing louder in isolation. The mind and body are not separate enemies, but intertwined forces, each demanding recognition. And so, the chosen one faces an ironic dilemma. The very effort to suppress lust fuels its intensity. What is denied power in the conscious mind gains strength in the subconscious, manifesting as dreams, sudden urges, or unexpected moments of longing. It is not just the act of lust, but the idea of it, the mere awareness of desire, that becomes the battlefield. History tells the stories of spiritual warriors who have faced this conflict. The Buddha himself, before attaining enlightenment, was tempted by Mara, the embodiment of worldly desires. Christ spent 40 days in the wilderness resisting temptations meant to sway him from his path. The philosophers of old, from Plato to Seneca, debated the role of bodily desires in a life devoted to higher thought. Even modern-day seekers, whether monks, yogis, or ordinary individuals seeking a greater purpose, feel the grip of this struggle. There is a reason why mystics warn against isolation as a cure for temptation. It does not remove desire, it magnifies it. The chosen ones, by the very nature of their path, often find themselves distanced from the world, not because they reject it, but because their vision pulls them towards something beyond the mundane. But this very separation creates a longing for connection, and in that longing, desire takes shape. Lust, then, is not always about indulgence. It is often a misplaced yearning for closeness, for warmth, for something that soothes the loneliness of the journey. This is why those who walk alone often struggle the most, not because they are weak, but because their solitude amplifies the echoes of their unfulfilled desires. The true battle is not about eradicating desire, but understanding it. Suppression breeds rebellion. What is caged in the mind eventually seeks escape through other means. The wise do not seek to eliminate temptation, for that is an endless war. Instead, they seek to transmute it. Many have discovered that energy directed toward lust can be redirected toward creation, spirituality, and self-mastery. Artists have channeled longing into masterpieces, poets into verses that transcend time, monks into meditative bliss that surpasses the need for physical satisfaction. Alchemy is not just the transformation of metal into gold, it is the transformation of desire into something higher. Some of the greatest minds in history have learned to redirect their urges into an unbreakable will, one that fuels progress rather than distraction. But this mastery is not instant. It is a process, a training of the mind, a discipline of the soul. The chosen ones must understand that lust does not make them unworthy of their path. It does not signify failure, nor does it mean they are not meant for greater things. It is simply a reminder of their humanity, a challenge placed in their path to forge their strength. Shame is the silent chain that keeps many from confronting their struggle. Society often places unrealistic expectations on those who seek enlightenment, as if walking a higher path means abandoning all human impulses. This is why many chosen ones battle lust in secrecy, fearing judgment, fearing that their struggle negates their wisdom. But to struggle is not to fall. To acknowledge is not to surrender. The burden of being chosen is not that one is free from temptation, but that they must learn to rise above it without denying its presence. The journey is not about attaining a state where desire ceases to exist. It is about reaching a state where it no longer rules over the mind. It is about making peace with one's nature, while cultivating the discipline to walk forward unshaken. Many have faltered, but many have also conquered. The battle is long, but every moment of struggle is also a moment of growth. The fire of desire does not have to burn away one's purpose. It can instead be the very flame that fuels the journey towards something greater. In facing lust, the chosen ones do not just fight an enemy, they learn to master themselves. And in that mastery lies true freedom. Those who walk the path of wisdom often find themselves elevated in the eyes of others. Whether they are spiritual mentors, intellectual pioneers, or seekers of enlightenment, they are expected to exist beyond the reach of ordinary human struggles. This illusion of perfection is a double-edged sword, one that isolates and burdens them with unrealistic expectations. Society often assumes that those who carry wisdom should be immune to the desires that shape human experience. But in truth, the opposite is often the case. The higher one ascends, the more they are tested. Repression does not extinguish desire, it only forces it into the depths of the subconscious, where it gathers strength like a storm waiting to be unleashed. This internal battle becomes even more profound for those who lead others. The world eagerly celebrates their wisdom, but is just as quick to condemn them when they falter. History is littered with the stories of revered figures who stumbled under the weight of their humanity, not because they lacked wisdom, but because they were expected to deny a fundamental part of their nature. The struggle with lust is not a mere indulgence. It is a confrontation with the self, a test of balance between spiritual aspiration and physical existence. Those who seek purity are often the ones most intensely drawn to the very thing they try to resist. The forbidden is not just tempting, it becomes a silent obsession, lurking behind every effort to suppress it. There is an undeniable magnetism that comes with wisdom and influence. Those who possess a deep understanding of life naturally attract others. Whether it is through their intellect, their spiritual insights, or their presence, they become beacons that draw people toward them. But admiration is a double-edged sword. It can uplift or ensnare. Power, even the power of knowledge, has an allure that many underestimate. It is intoxicating to inspire others, to be sought after for guidance, to be seen as someone who holds the answers. But within this admiration lies a hidden temptation. The chosen ones often find themselves surrounded by admiration that subtly shifts into desire. The question is not whether they will face this challenge, but whether they will recognize it in time. Many throughout history have failed this test, not because they were inherently weak, but because they were unprepared for the weight of their own influence. Even the most disciplined seekers can find themselves drawn into temptation, not because they seek it, but because power, in any form, attracts both devotion and desire. The challenge is not just about resisting external temptation, it is about mastering the internal response to it. Without awareness, admiration can turn into attachment, and attachment can blur the lines between wisdom and longing. Many who have walked this path learn too late that what seems like a harmless connection can quickly become a chain that binds them. Beyond the physical and psychological aspects, many chosen ones believe their struggles with lust have a deeper spiritual significance. Throughout history, mystics, monks, and sages have described temptation as not merely a personal failing, but as a force that tests the very essence of the soul. In religious and spiritual traditions, figures have been tempted by visions, demons, and forces designed to pull them away from their higher calling. Whether one takes these accounts literally or symbolically, the message remains the same. The closer one gets to enlightenment, the stronger the forces that seek to divert them. It is not just about resisting a fleeting urge. It is about proving one's mastery over the self. Many spiritual seekers have noted that the struggle with lust intensifies the moment they commit to a path of discipline and purity. This is no coincidence. The energies that once flowed freely are suddenly redirected, creating friction within the soul. This battle cannot be won through fear or avoidance. It must be met with understanding and self-awareness. The greatest mistake is believing that desire itself is the enemy. It is not. The true challenge lies in learning to transmute it into something greater. Suppression only feeds its power. True mastery comes from facing it head-on and choosing not to be controlled by it. One of the greatest paradoxes of human desire is that what is forbidden becomes the most enticing. This psychological phenomenon, often referred to as the forbidden fruit effect, plays a crucial role in the struggles of chosen ones. Those who dedicate themselves to purity, wisdom, and discipline often find that their desires intensify rather than fade. This is not a sign of weakness, but of misplaced resistance. When something is declared off-limits, the mind fixates on it, giving it more power than it deserves. Many spiritual traditions warn against this trap, not because desire itself is evil, but because obsession with its denial can become just as consuming as indulgence. Some of the most disciplined individuals in history, monks, philosophers, ascetics, have admitted to secret battles with overwhelming temptation. The more they sought to escape it, the more it pursued them, appearing in dreams, thoughts, and moments of weakness. The key to overcoming this cycle is not suppression, but balance. Desire, when understood and redirected, can become a source of strength rather than weakness. The greatest mistake is believing that mastery means elimination. True mastery is not about erasing lust, but transforming it into something higher. The energy that fuels desire can also fuel creativity, passion, and purpose. Those who learn this truth gain a power far greater than mere self-denial. They gain control over the very forces that once controlled them. Many spiritual traditions teach that the struggles of this life are echoes of past ones. If one carries unresolved lessons, certain desires may surface as a means of working through them. This belief suggests that chosen ones, often seen as old souls, are not simply facing random temptations, but are confronting patterns that have followed them across lifetimes. This perspective shifts the narrative from one of guilt to one of understanding. Instead of seeing desire as an enemy, one can begin to recognize it as a teacher. If a certain struggle persists, it is not meant to be ignored, it is meant to be understood. Some battles are not meant to be won through resistance, but through transformation. Lust is not merely a longing for physical pleasure. It is a raw and untamed energy that can be harnessed for creation, inspiration, and higher consciousness. Many of history's greatest minds, poets, artists, spiritual masters, have taken this energy and turned it into something transcendent. Instead of being consumed by their desires, they use them to create masterpieces, philosophies, and teachings that shape the world. The challenge for chosen ones is not to eliminate this force, but to learn to direct it towards something meaningful. Perhaps the most overlooked reason why chosen ones struggle with lust is the deep isolation that often comes with their journey. To walk a path of wisdom is to walk apart from the masses. This separation, while necessary, comes at a cost. The loneliness of the chosen creates a void, and this void seeks to be filled. Lust, then, is not just about physical craving, it is often a response to an emotional emptiness. Even those who have dedicated themselves to spiritual or intellectual pursuits find themselves longing for connection. This is not a weakness, it is the nature of being human. But chosen ones must recognize that lust is often a disguised attempt to escape loneliness rather than a true source of fulfillment. Fleeting pleasures cannot replace deep, meaningful connections, whether with others, with oneself, or with a higher purpose. True fulfillment is not found in indulgence, nor in repression, but in balance. The path is not about denying human nature, but about rising above its illusions. When the chosen one learns to master this, they do not merely resist temptation, they transcend it. And in that transcendence, they find true freedom. The true challenge for chosen ones is not merely resisting desire, but discerning between fleeting gratification and genuine connection. At its core, the battle with lust is not about denial, but mastery. Either one commands their desires, shaping them into something purposeful, or they become a servant to their own impulses, chasing pleasures that vanish as quickly as they appear. Many seekers spend years, sometimes lifetimes, caught in this cycle. Some surrender entirely, allowing their urges to dictate their actions, while others take the opposite approach, repressing their desires so forcefully that they eventually implode. But neither extreme offers true liberation. Lust is not inherently destructive, nor is it inherently divine. It is energy, raw and untamed, neither good nor evil. Like fire, it can illuminate or consume, warm or burn. When left unchecked, it devours everything in its path, leading to chaos, regret, and distraction from higher purpose. But when understood and redirected, it becomes one of the most potent forces for transformation. Those who uncover this truth no longer fear their own desires. Instead, they learn to use them as fuel for something far greater than momentary pleasure. To master lust is not to suppress it, but to elevate it, to harness its energy rather than be consumed by it. This is the secret known to mystics, sages, and enlightened souls throughout time. Mastery is not found in resistance, but in transmutation. Lust has been both revered and condemned throughout history. It has been called a sin, a temptation, a test, and yet it has also been the muse of poets, the fire behind great works of art, and the driving force of human connection. But for those walking the higher path, those chosen for spiritual insight, wisdom, and transformation, lust presents a unique struggle. It is not merely a personal battle, but a test of the soul's mastery over the primal aspects of existence. The mistake many make is believing that discipline alone can suppress their desires. They impose rigid structures, strict avoidance, and self-imposed isolation in an attempt to conquer lust. Yet history has shown that the greater the repression, the greater the eventual collapse. What is pushed into the shadows does not disappear. It festers, gathering strength in the unconscious mind until it bursts forth in unexpected and often destructive ways. This is why so many who claim to have defeated their desires find themselves falling harder than ever before. The key is not brute force control, but deep understanding. To break free from the grip of lust, one must stop seeing it as an enemy. It is not something to be eradicated, but something to be mastered, something to be elevated. The greatest mistake a seeker can make is believing that purity comes from denial. True purity comes from wisdom, the ability to stand in the presence of desire without being ruled by it. At its root, lust is nothing more than energy, and energy by its nature cannot be destroyed, only transformed. This is the ancient knowledge passed down through traditions like Tantra, Taoism, and alchemy. Those who discovered this truth did not seek to eliminate their desires, they sought to channel them. Sexual energy is one of the most powerful forces in existence. Left uncontrolled, it binds people in cycles of craving and indulgence, but when harnessed, it fuels creativity, ambition, and spiritual ascension. The great artists, thinkers, and spiritual masters of history did not rid themselves of desire. They learned to refine it, to transmute it into something extraordinary. The same fire that drives lust can be used to build civilizations, compose symphonies, or unlock the mysteries of the soul. This is why the most powerful minds and spirits often carry the greatest temptations. It is not because they are weak, but because they hold within them an immense energy that, if misused, can lead to downfall, yet if mastered, can lead to enlightenment. The choice is always the same: allow desire to dictate your actions, or shape that desire into a force that elevates you. The true path is not suppression, but transformation. Lust does not have to be a curse. It can be a tool. For chosen ones, lust is often not just a physical longing, but a spiritual signal, an indicator of something deeper that seeks fulfillment. Every desire we experience has a root beyond the physical. What many mistake for mere attraction or indulgence is often a longing for something far more profound: connection, love, purpose, or unity. This is why chosen ones must go beyond the surface. Lust at its lowest vibration is a hunger for gratification, but at its highest, it is a longing for divine union. When a seeker begins to see their desires through this lens, everything changes. The need for temporary pleasure fades, replaced by a greater search for fulfillment. This is why those who truly transcend lust do not do so by force, but by understanding. They ask themselves the deeper question, what am I really seeking? And when they find the answer, lust loses its power over them. It becomes nothing more than a shadow of a greater truth, an echo of something that once understood no longer holds them in its grip. True mastery is not about denying desire, nor is it about indulging it. It is about recognizing that what one truly seeks has never been physical at all. It has always been something higher. The final step in this journey is acceptance. Chosen ones must accept that they are human, that desire is woven into the fabric of their existence, but they must also recognize that they are more than just their cravings. The mistake is in believing that struggle with lust makes one unworthy of the spiritual path. In truth, it is the very struggle that shapes them. Every challenge faced on this journey is an opportunity for mastery, for growth, for awakening. Those who reach the final stage of understanding no longer see lust as an adversary, nor as something to be ashamed of. They see it as a force, one that, when properly directed, becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. The battle is not to become void of desire, but to become sovereign over it. When a chosen one reaches this state, lust no longer controls them. It no longer distracts, no longer leads them astray. Instead, it becomes a tool, an energy that, when harnessed, fuels their highest purpose. This is the ultimate lesson. Master your desires and you master yourself. And when you master yourself, nothing in this world can stand in your way. If this wisdom has spoken to you, do not keep it to yourself. There are many walking the same path, struggling in silence, searching for the understanding that you now hold. Share this truth. Let it spread and awaken others to their power. The world is filled with those waiting to break free, to transcend, to rise above the illusions that have kept them bound. You are not alone in this journey, and as you continue to walk this path, remember, true mastery is not about avoiding the fire, but about learning to wield it.